Good afternoon, everyone. It's July 10th, 2020. I'm Eric. How's everyone doing? I hope you're well. So, we have a few things to cover today. Let me ask you something. Does information, bad news that's constantly coming out, does it ever feel like it's dragging you down in the shitters? Well, if that's the case, um, it might help if you find something to laugh at or smile about every day. If you find at least one thing to be grateful for every day, it might help your spirits a little bit. So, and we do talk about some dark topics, FEMA camps, race wars, civil war, so on and so forth. And I can see how it would get depressing for some people. But there's a lot. Over the course of the last couple of weeks, we've seen individuals antagonizing, picking fights with the white people to lure a reaction out of them so they can scream and cry racism when actually they were the antagonist. We've seen mainstream media turning the people defending themselves against these intentional attacks into villains. They take what happened as a whole out of context, only showing very small pieces of what actually happened. Well, I told you a long time ago that there are steps to a genocide. And one of those steps is dehumanizing the people you intend on killing en masse. And that's exactly what we see going on. It's been ramped up to a whole new. Now, it's only a very small percentage of people who are doing this. And Brandon Smith makes some great points in this article. You know, you can't allow the actions of that small percentage of people to dictate to you your overall view of a given set of people. However, you should be aware that their ideology is growing. You should be aware that if you defend yourself against the onslaught, against any of these attacks, you too will become a villain on mainstream media. You will be arrested while the likes of Antifa and BLM, well, they don't. At least not much. And the thing is, we have people, conservatives, the people that are supposed to be against all this, cowering like little bitches and acquiescing to this small group of people. Anybody who thinks there is any difference between the conservatives and liberals are delusioned. They're only different in rhetoric. But behind the scenes, they are all working to the same end. And Brandon brings up a good point here at the first line. It's the only line I'm going to cover in here. Isn't it odd that the political left claims to be so adamantly opposed to racism, yet they are the first people in the room to make generalizations based on race? So they're coming after Whitey again. I think it's going to be a little bit different this time, though. I think it's going to be a little bit different, and don't get me wrong, there are some trying to make headway in this because, frankly, I have a bigger problem than the assholes out there tipping over these statues that don't hit back. We all have a shared problem, and that is the actions taken by our government in reaction to a pandemic. Now, I understand that China is making claims that there is a pneumonia illness currently outbreaking in Kazakhstan, and it frankly would not surprise me the least to find out that it was true. This is what our governments do. After all, they do everything possible to undermine your rights and your ability to live. Another one I'd like to bring to your attention is this one from Peter Van Buren via theamericanconservative.com. And I find that, this whole notion of conservative, where the fuck are you people at? You're allowing the Red Guard to take over the entire fucking country. Where are you at? Oh, I know, you're concerned about breaking the law, right? And going after some of these people. Well, guess what? If you continue to ignore the problems that we face, you're not going to have to worry about any such thing at all. Remember the Red Guards before you cheer the woke mobs. Today statues, tomorrow mass firings, or even worse. There's a history here. And there's been lots of people, as I said yesterday, that have been fired over their disagreement with all of the actions taken by these communist fanatics known as Antifa and Black Lives Matter, among other groups. All right? And by the way, white people are not joining hate groups in record numbers. It's the reverse. It's black people who are joining hate groups in record numbers. I don't hate anybody based on their race or religion. Frankly, if I spend a half hour with you, I'm sure I can find another reason to dislike you. That being, you're just a motherfucking asshole. And he goes on to say that he doesn't really give a shit about the statues and J.K. Rowling being torn down, but terrified of the thought process behind the destruction. Decisions should never be made by mobs. And by the way, any of these people getting arrested for rioting, if their attorneys are worth a shit, they're going to get them off based on crowd psychology. And the same thing happened back after the LA riots. There are people that got off because they brought up this idea that once you're part of a crowd, you get swept up into it, and you're not thinking for yourself any longer. And that's true. It's true. This is exactly why they keep people in a suspended state of being in one group or another, whether that be these communist assholes or the cowardly conservatives. I mean, these people are fucking walking up into churches using bullhorns and threatening people. And conservatives are fucking taking it. And non-conservatives, by the way. Where the fuck are you? The people that are center, where are you? Are you going to kneel? I'm not. And he poses the question, is America on the edge of a cultural revolution? And the answer is obvious, but the problem with this so-called cultural revolution is that it's been contrived by the ruling class. And thus it is being used as a tool to an end. So, the historical namesake and obvious parallel is the Cultural Revolution in China. And believe me when I tell you, China has a role in this, which lasted from 1966 to 1976, 10 years. 10 years, well, actually the hell never stopped there, did it? The hell is still going on for people who think for themselves. But the whole bloody purge lasted 10 years. Do you remember on The Walking Dead, if any of you followed that show? I'm pretty sure that at least a couple of you have. Now, I stopped watching after season 5. I did watch a little bit of season 6, but it got to be redundant. So, this was in the episode where Tyrese was flashbacking to his dad's radio, where they were talking about random machete attacks taking place and all the violence that was occurring. In my opinion, that was predictive programming. We will be seeing these types of attacks occur more and more, and it will not only be on white people. It will also be on anybody who disagrees with this cultural revolution and its ideology. Now, its stated goal was to purge capitalist and traditional elements from society and to substitute a new way of thinking based on Mao's own beliefs. And the same exact thing you are witnessing it all take place. To set the mobs on somebody, one need only to tie him to an official blacklist like the four olds, like old customs, culture, habits, and ideas. So anything that represents our heritage will make you the old thinker, and you, as an old thinker, will be purged. The old thinkers were everywhere and were systematically trying to preserve their power and subjugate the people. That's what they said about the old thinkers. And we see this going on right here. To rebel as justified. Except they're rebelling against the wrong thing, against the wrong people. The mobs took the task to heart. Red Guards destroyed historical relics, statues, and artifacts, and ransacked cultural and religious sites. Libraries were burned. Religion was considered a tool of capitalists, and so churches were destroyed. Even the temple of Confucius was wrecked. Eventually, the Red Guards moved on to openly killing people who did not think as they did. Where were the police? Well, the cops were told not to intervene in Red Guard activities, and if they did, the National Police Chief pardoned the guards for any crimes. Any of these guys, the Red Guards. And that's what's happening with BLM and Antifa. While conservative types or middle of the road types get the fucking book thrown at them. And listen, I'm going to tell you, if you want to save the country and have it reasonably functioning, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to do something. And I'm talking to America. Education was singled out, as it was the way the old values were preserved and transmitted. And of course, this is not the case in the United States, is it? At least not once you get to college. They completely indoctrinate you to the Marxist way of thinking, or communists, whatever you want to call these fucking lunatics. Teachers, particularly those at universities, were considered the stinky old ninth and were widely persecuted. So, you know, we're not too far from that full-fledged turning from statues and directing the animosity openly on people. It's already taking place. Now this guy, Scott Jensen, he's being investigated for blowing the whistle on government's COVID-19 death toll. You see, they are lying about the number of people. And Dr. Jensen, or Scott Jensen, member of Senate from Minnesota, who blew the whistle on the government's gross over-exaggeration of COVID-19 deaths, is being investigated. Jensen shared documents proving Health and Human Services demanded healthcare workers list as many deaths as possible as COVID-19 deaths, whether they were tested or not. And that's the problem with government, is you can never trust what they say. You may get some random guy like Scott Jensen here that wants to tell the truth and be honest, but overall, these people are there to deceive you, and their legislation reflects this. It reflects the notion that you are an enemy of the state. So, the tests really don't matter anyway, because they only have a false positive rate of 50 to 80%. So you can't take what the tests say seriously. Really, you shouldn't take any of the shit being spouted by people like Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, or any of the rest of them seriously. I mean, they've only been wrong about everything. Now, he wasn't the only doctor who blew the whistle. There's now a running joke that if you fall out of an airplane without your parachute, you'll be labeled a COVID-19 death. And Jensen is being targeted for sharing this information with the public. Of course, many of us in the public already knew that this was going on. That's what government does. It lies, steals, deceives, cheats. You name the crime, they're involved. While they fill their prisons with slave labor for the corporations. My computer is being a bitch today. There we go. There was another one on here. Max Egan silenced for speaking against slavery of the government. This one here, Alan, the state can plunge a needle in your arm, Dershowitz, is in Epstein's little black book. Surprise, surprise. Alan Dershowitz, the infamous lawyer for Donald Trump, who said the government can jab a needle in your arm, is in Jeffrey Epstein's little black book of people who flew on the Lolita Express no fewer than 12 times. I want to know, how many motherfuckers aren't connected to him? But, hey, you know, Donald Trump, right? The savior. I prefer to look at him as the slavior. Yeah, that's what he is. The slavior. I mean, there's so much shit to cover, and it's ridiculous. An FDA commissioner shares Bill Gates' concern people might reject the coronavirus vaccine. Why would we do anything but reject it? And of course, Americans are to be arrested for not quarantining for COVID-19. Meanwhile, Black Lives Matter and Antifa and anybody else who gets out there and fucks stuff up, there's no concern for them spreading this fiction, is there? There's some fresh stuff up here on the Free Thought Project that maybe you should know about. I mean, after all, these are individuals who police your communities, who you trust with your lives, who you believe to be heroes. Now, first one up, watch as onlookers demand he stop. Cop repeatedly gropes woman breasts. And if she had pulled away or resisted him groping her breast, she would have got the shit beat out of her. But this guy here, and which will be my last bit of business, my patience wear thin with this computer. I'd be really happy if EMP went off tomorrow. I would be really, really happy. This guy here, Red Elephant Vincent James, he's begging for more of this kind of thing to be happening. He's begging for bigger government. He's begging for the intervention of the federal authorities into these conservative or liberal run areas, but not acknowledging that states like my own, they're Republican states, they too are participating in all this madness. They too are not stopping any of it. So he's blaming liberals for everything, although he is saying that the same thing as I have been, that the conservative side of things are acting rather cowardly. Where the fuck are they at? But he's practically begging for more government, and he calls himself conservative. Cop dumps 12 rounds into unarmed suspected shoplifter who reportedly had a receipt. And despite this man having a receipt for items he paid for, an Oklahoma cop dumped 12 rounds into him. Isn't that nice? This sounds like a reasonable actions to take over shoplifting. It seems just, But let's have more, Let's have more authoritarianism. Let's have more government intervention, even though we can see how effective government is at anything. But let's have more of it. I can't breathe. Cops illegally enter home, attack pregnant woman, choke man over a seatbelt. seatbelt. Politically connected cop drives twice the speed limit, kills innocent man, and gets no charges. Brave cop suspended for exposing officers, suffocating man, shoving baton in his mouth until he died. Cops who laughed as they killed handcuffed innocent man granted qualified immunity. Where are the riots for this guy? Oh, wait. What am I thinking? He's the wrong fucking color. New audio reveals conspiracy to cover up the killing of Breonna Taylor, according to the lawyer there for her husband or boyfriend. After cops execute teen, destroys security camera, autopsy find he was shot in the back. Shot in the back. Cop opens fire from inside unmarked car, executes unarmed kneeling man. Revolutionary new bill would require cops to carry their own personal liability insurance. I say defund every fucking bit of it. Not just the cops, all of it. School cop shoots wife during domestic dispute. Fellow cops do not arrest him. Yeah. Family says don't join the military after daughter sexually harassed, murdered by fellow soldier. No, you should not be joining our military at all. Turn your back on it all. Quit funding it. They are working to destroy you. Cop attacks and arrests innocent man for leaving his car running. Taxpayers held liable. 4 years and still no justice for Philando Castile, executed by police, having broken no laws. So, let's have more. And Ronald Reagan took that stance, and look how well it went. Right? But then again, maybe Vincent here likes the idea of slavery in our prisons. Maybe he likes the idea of a guy like me getting pulled over with a bag of weed and being shipped off to one of these slave camps. Maybe. Maybe he's not conservative at all. I'm not here to bash him. He obviously has done a better job than me at selling himself and products. But I'm not here to sell myself. I'm not here to sell you products. I am here to tell you the truth. And the truth is, the system as it exists now is rigged for the upper 1%. And it will continue to be rigged. And you will continue to live in squalor. You will continue to suffer as long as you subscribe to the idea that other people have a higher authority over your life than you do. As long as you subscribe to the idea that any organizational body has the right to kidnap you off the street and cage you for possessing a plant, a mushroom, or a weapon. As long as you believe that, you're going to continue to live in squalor and live as a slave. If you're begging for bigger government, if you're begging for more police, you are a part of the problem. Till next time, kill the state, live free.